We're back for episode 11 of the Add a Zero Challenge. Can we take a 10K bankroll and run it up to 100,000 playing live cash games? Pokerstaples live. So that's the plan. Now we are here on episode 11 of this challenge. And unfortunately, we have not made any progress. 10K start, we are down to an $8,081 bankroll, coming off a $95 loss in the last episode where we won a huge hand right at the end to survive, basically. So hopefully today can be better. Spoilers, I know what happens. So let's jump into the hands. First hand of the session, looking down at
20.
the pocket eights. We're going to raise it up to 20 in early position. This is one of the adjustments that I made, sizing down a little bit from when I started, making it 25. Now it's 20 and now even 15 sometimes.
So it's not enough, is what you guys are saying. It needs to be more money than 20? Is that?
And we go 6 ways to the flop. 6 ways to the flop. We have a very interesting 8, 9, 10 with bottom set and a flush draw out there. The session is relatively new. We have 12, 25 in buy-ins. And I think we're sitting on just over a stack, so about 1,200 blinds deep or so. What do we do here with bottom set? I think the betting is okay, but I think in theory, we would definitely check a lot, I think, in this spot, in that like aces, kings, queens, even jacks are like not happy to bet here. When we're 6 ways, it's pretty likely that someone has a 2 pair, someone has a straight, someone has enough flush draw. So yeah, like those over pairs are not feeling really good. Of course, we have a great hand here with bottom set, but if we get in 1,000 right now, we're going to be up against nut flush draw or a straight or an overset. So I decided to start with a check here and see how it plays out. I don't hate building a pot either. Sort of fine with it. We get a bet from the middle position here, a call on the button, and we call. I just call here with the eights for the same reason as before. $40, 4 ways, 160 plus the pre-flop 26 ways. 160, 120. What are we at? 280 in the pot, going to the turn, and 4 ways here. We're out of position to 2 players. Turn is the beautiful 9. We love the beautiful 9 here on the turn. We're pretty happy with our hand. We lose to a few hands, 10s full, 10-9, quad 9s, but like really not too concerning here. The question is, do we want to lead now that we're 4 ways? I think my hand looks like what it is if I decide to lead. Now, I don't think a straight is going to fold if I lead, but I think some flush draws could definitely fold as well. So I decided to go for a check again. Hope a flush comes in on the river or someone decides to bet for me, but it checks through. River's the deuce of hearts. Total brick.
150.
We bet 150 on the river here. Clubs miss. We're trying to get paid from something here. Obviously, I'm expecting that a 9 is going to raise me sometimes. A straight is going to raise me sometimes, based on how no money went in on the turn.
Full house.
And I believe we get a call from seat 5 here. Yes. Showed on the full house. We win a pot. It could have been a bigger pot, but the thing is, we're just 6 ways on the flop with kind of an awkward stack to play for stacks on the flop. So we play kind of passively. We win a pot nonetheless. Moving on. Moving on to the next hand after we win a nice pot, stacking up some chips. We get a raise to 10 in middle position, a re-raise to 50 in the cutoff, a call on the button. We look down at the beautiful pocket kings. I decided to make it 200 here with the raise to 50 in the call. This is a 4x sizing, so it's a little small technically, but because we're not super deep, I think this is the right size. So we make it 200, fold, back to the button. Goes all in, we snap call.
Kings.
And it's kings and aces.
Should we do a 3 dealer for the sweat? Let's do a 3.
It's kings and aces. It's not going so well.
Close to even stack. 800 yet?
It's kind of unlucky. We run it 3 times, you know, just for fun.
3 doesn't help. No, 3 doesn't help.
Bricks. One more shot to get a third of this pot back. And no dice. So obviously just a cooler here. Some common questions that I see people talking about in regards to this hand, so I'll just address this. Is first of all, like, yes, it's a cooler, but everyone gets an equal amount of aces versus kings, and they always go all in pre-flop unless you're maybe in a crazy 3-way, you know, $1 million pot. But basically they always go all in. So at the end of the day, there's nothing you can do about them. They're just unlucky. And then the second thing is, like, why are you running a 1 time or 2 times or 3 times? It doesn't change the EV of the situation at all, right? Like, it doesn't change how much money you win or lose theoretically in the long run. You may think like, oh, but you've got such a lock in the hand, you could win the whole pot. You're giving them 2 chances. It's like, yeah, but the long shot comes in the same frequency. There's some small considerations when it comes to rake, in that if you have an edge on your opponent, you would theoretically want to like capture the edge as quick as possible, and running it multiple times is essentially like decreasing the variance, but like it's just not a big deal. So I run it multiple times for fun. If people want to run it one time for the pain and punishment, fine. If they want to run it multiple times, that's okay with me too. I mean, streaming, seeing more cards is interesting, so I usually run it multiple times and see what happens. So that's the story on that. Let's move on to the next hand. Moving on to the next hand, we have a good player here that's opening in middle position.
60.
And we're going to 3-bet them immediately behind with the 8-7 suited to 60. 20-60, cold call on the button from Mage, friend of the stream, and the original caller calls as well. Flop is 10-6 deuce. We've got 180 in the middle plus the blinds, call it 200. We bet 120 on this 10-6 deuce in the 3-bet pot. It's a very dry board, right? Neither of my opponents decide to 4-bet me here. This is a really good spot for me, I think, because if they don't have a 10s or 6s or 2s, we've got the overpair on lock. I don't think either of our opponent has jacks, queens, kings, or aces. So I'm feeling pretty good about our hand here. And it's such a dry board, I'm suiting up for aggression. Even in a 3-way pot, I think this is a good idea. So we bet 120. Mage calls. And the original player calls. So we're going to the turn. This is obviously quite intense, right? We've got 360 plus the pre-flop action in there. We've got about 500 in the middle. We're stuck stacks, dude. The challenge is not going well, but can we pull the trigger on the turn on a dry board where it's just like really hard for our opponents to have anything good here?
330.
We decide to bet 330 on the turn, sizing for the river to get all the money in. Again, with the aces, the kings, the queens, the jacks advantage. I'm thinking if they don't have a set here, I'm going to win this hand. Maybe ace 10 can find its way to the river. But in this 3-bet pot, Mage doesn't have ace 10, cold calling the 3-bet. But they jam. Tapis is to the felt in French. It's all in. They jam. I fold. And you can see it on my face. It's just pain. It's punishment. I'm so sad. Nothing's going my way. The aggression isn't paying off. Tightening up isn't paying off. I mean, maybe I shouldn't talk about that with 8-7 suited, but you get what I'm saying. I think I have the coolest piece of poker software you've ever seen today. It is called Hybrid Poker. Brand new piece of poker learning software where you test your score against myself, against Daniel Negreanu, against Bill Perkins, and see how you score against the 3 of us, as well as other poker players as well. But Hybrid Poker learns about you, the player, which is, this is really cool. As Hybrid Poker gets to know you, it's going to tell you what to work on. There's a link to the IQ test down below. Try it for free. I think you'll like it. So try it out. Moving on to the next hand, we got the kings. Now, this game really devolved to craziness towards the end here. There's 4 of us left. We've been playing for about 12 hours. And since you can straddle, we're playing 2, 5, 10, 20, basically, at the end of the night. You can see I'm in for 27.65 here. And it was a very swingy four-handed, basically playing 10-20.
40.
So raise it up to 40 with the kings. Good call. Flop is pretty fun. Pretty fun with kings. We decided to check it back. If we're ever going to check back a flop like this, heads up, short-handed, when we have the total lock on it with the kings, I think it makes some sense. I expect to be able to get all the money with how deep the stacks are against the 7 anyways, right? Like, I don't think it's hard to get a 7 to stack off by putting in some raises on the turn. Like, it'll just get the money in. So I think slow playing is good. Turn is the money card.
Call.
And a bet of 40 here on the turn. We decide to call. Allow them to continue bluffing and plan to put in the big raises on the river. 6 of spades on the end.
330.
They bet 125, and we raise it up to 330 here, putting in the big raise. Now, we don't get all the money in. I'm a little surprised with the turn flat. I think we can raise, probably. We do shut out hands that are just pure bluffing on the turn. Queen, Jack, Queen 10, Jack 10, for example. But we do get a lot of money from Ace X and 7X by inflating the pot on the turn. I don't hate a turn raise. We raise on the river. Opponent calls.
Kings.
He said kings. I thought you had one king.
Yeah.
And we don't get to know. I feel like they had a pretty big hand from memory, although it's been a couple weeks now. Moving on to the next hand of this crazy four-handed 10-20. We get an open to 35 on the button. The 20 was not on here.
120.
And I looked down at ace-10 offsuit and put in the 3-bet
Yeah,
against
I made
Mage's
it an
button
awkward size.
open.
Oh no, I got it. Here we go. Perfect.
Mage is going to call. So we go 2 ways to the flop, 240 plus the blinds. Flop is ace, 8, 3,
90.
2 spades. Standard strategy here on these ace-high boards is small c-bet in the 3-bet pots. So we do that. 90, we get a call. 5 of hearts on the turn. So now we're in a little bit of an awkward spot. We probably have the best hand right now, but it gets very uncomfortable in the river if a lot of money goes in because, well, our opponent could have ace-jack, they could have ace-queen, they could have ace-8, they could have ace-5. We don't really want to play big pot right now. So check on the turn, slow down, and let's control the size of the pot. As you can see here, we decided to go all in for 413. So we don't have very much money back. They bet 125 into a pot that's basically a pot-sized bet left for us. So we've got to decide with our tournament stack, do we want to play with our ace-10 or fold? In the 3-bet pot, when they open on the button, we 3-bet, they call. I don't think folding is the option for me, but it's a very uncomfortable spot. If we're 1,100 deep, we're never making this play. Doesn't make any sense, right? It looks like we're overplaying our hand, but it's just because we're on short stack sizes. We're basically on tournament stack sizes here, where there's no money behind, and we have top pair, Now, the unfortunate part about this is like, well, what the heck do we hope that Mage can have that can call us with, right? Ace-9 suited, ace-7 suited, ace-6 suited, ace-4 suited, ace-deuce suited. Hope that they were betting with, spades on the turn, right? They bet with spades and we check raise them and like force them to call off or fold their equity is fine. All of that's good, but we're not doing well against ace-8, ace-5, ace-3, ace-jack, ace-queen. So it's an uncomfortable spot with 400 behind.
2, 3.
Yeah, let's do 3. I don't have a great. I have ace-10.
We get a call.
just got a
I
pot
think it was
size bet left.
ace-jack.
First board.
Ace-jack.
Ace-jack wins. Ace-jack, ace-10 shot. Yeah,
Second board, ace-jack wins. Boom! We get one on the end to win 1/3. And that was the end of the session. That was the last hand. So this was not a great session. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of like really great, interesting hands that I can put in there. But the unfortunate problem is basically it was just like a day where we would 3-bet and we would c-bet and then we would check fold. So the worst session of the challenge, minus 23.55. The four-handed did not go very well. We are going to start next session at $5,726. Some failed bluffs. I mean, the aggression I think was high. It didn't work out very well. We lost in aces to kings, where we had the kings, and that's poker. So I'm disappointed with how it's going, but what else can we do? We've got to fight on. We got to keep playing. All I can do is play the best I can play. That's all I've got. So love to hear what you think down below in the comments. I'm sure you'll have some thoughts. Appreciate all of you watching, but that's it for this episode. Until next time on the Add a Zero challenge. See you later.